last year. We arranged for this event, arranged for another club. Thank you, Mike, for volunteering. Size. Our first speaker today, many of you know Dr. Larry Ross, who's gone through my programs from all countries. He is the president of F&B Associates out of Lakeland, Florida. Ian is Mr. Larry, Dr. Larry, is Dianne and Bill France Distinguished Professor of Business at Florida Southern College. He was active as an owner and operator of a dozen restaurants from Key West to Atlanta for over 30 years. Dr. Ross served in the hospitality industry, in areas of marketing and operation, and also served as an interim GM for private clubs in Florida. Dr. Ross has been teaching in the Business Management Institution program with the Club Managers Association of America for 27 years, including the certificate review class, BMI 1, BMI 2, and the food and beverage BMI. So if you haven't had a class with him, it's time to get going on your CCM, everybody. So, I want you to take a moment to introduce Dr. Larry Ross.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to try something for a minute. This always gets in the way, but how's my voice without the mic? Everybody in the back, the cheap seats, everybody in here? Good. I like to run better whenever I can. So I want to thank Abenaqui. First of all, this is just, we redo one of these places. This is a great room. As a speaker, when you can have this kind of a setting, that's always nice. When you have this kind of clear, great acoustics, very much appreciated. So kudos to the folks that do that. I want to thank David and Carol for following through on Chris's early work. Chris reached out to me almost a year ago and said, hey, would you be interested in doing an educational program for us sometime up in New England? And then time went by, and we got it on the calendar. And I also thank Wentworth because I got a chance to see that beautiful club earlier this morning, and now I know the reason why. I want to talk about, I have a challenge. Life has a lot of big challenges. Not everybody gets to climb Mount Everest or do exciting things like that. But I have the great challenge of trying to talk to you for about the next 2 hours about explaining following lunch without a break. So to me, that's kind of like the time of my Everest. Keep everybody tuned in and alert. I want to thank all the sponsors that are here. Very impressive to see this many non-club managers at club manager events. So you all can stay engaged in this topic, and I'm really trying to. I'm almost done. This topic has been around for a long time. I teach a version of it at BMI 1 and have for a long time. For those of you club managers that are in the certification, you know that accounting is repeatedly in surveys and in meetings with club managers, accounting is the #1 competency that managers, general managers in particular, cite. And so we keep coming back to accounting topics, as sleepy as they can be, as challenging as it can be to make them interesting. We keep coming back to them because that's what professionals tell us they need to know more of or know more about. So the topic today is not on the screen. The topic today is accounting and budgeting for non-accountants. So we usually do this at BMI, but how many club controllers in the room? Anything? One? I've seen it at BMI. Not right yet. Two. Or former controllers. It's okay. It's kind of like, hi, I'm Larry, and it's okay to admit you used to be. Controllers, keep me honest. So if I stray off the path today, you're the fact checker. You're getting back on the track. What I want to do is share a little bit about what accounting, why accounting, so we have everybody on the same page since most of us aren't accountants, And then I want to take you through an approach to budgeting it works, first of all, as David mentioned in the intro. I have had my time in the seat as the general manager of a club. I grew up in a family of accountants. Perfect. Yep. I grew up in a family of our two brothers, a sister who all went through college, got a degree in accounting, worked as practicing accountants. And I said, ooh, that's not for me. I'm not an accountant. You can't keep me in a room and add up numbers. And I'm going to be a restaurant manager. I'm going to be a customer. I'm going to be in the kitchen, and I'm going to have an exciting life. And then over time, especially when you get your own business, you find out just how important accounting is. When you have to know what you're talking about, not just what goes in the recipe or what the people at table 32 really liked or didn't like about their dinner, but how you relate to a banker, how you relate to your investors, how you relate to your other managers, how you guide and direct your staff using information that is generated through the practice. So it's a very important topic, and today what we're going to talk about for managers may be one of the most important accounting topics. So what I want to accomplish, they tell us this now in higher ed, telling us this now at CMAA, we have to tell you what it is we're going to accomplish today, so that when this is all done, we can see if we accomplished it. So we're going to talk about accounting, I've already started doing. We're going to talk about budgeting from the standpoint of what it is and what it is not or should not be. We're going to talk about a couple of different types of budgets, but really we're going to talk about operating budgets. That's most of us operate a club or some kind of business, especially for our sponsors. But we're going to mention briefly to it. We're going to really focus our energy this afternoon on operating budgets, and then we're going to talk about how to do budgeting. And I'm going to guess that most of you, maybe not the students, but most of you have had some role in budgeting at your club or at your business. You've had some piece of it. Some of you, depending on your position, certainly the two controllers in the room have plenty of experience in budgeting. But more than likely, if you're a general manager, clubhouse manager, maybe an exec chef, you've had more experience with budgeting than the person sitting across the table. We're going to talk about how to do budgeting. How should it be done? After all, I'm an educator, so we talk about how it's supposed to be. Historians talk about it, reporters talk about how it is. We talk about how it's supposed to be. Probably the most important, sort of the punchline for the afternoon for me is, what do you do with this thing, the budget? Besides check the box that says we have a budget and move on. What do you do? How can you, and we can't have all day, this could be one of those 2-day workshops. By the way, when David was reading down the list of all the things you want to do, I noticed that counting wasn't one of the things you wanted to ask. So not only lunch and all that good stuff. He didn't say it was one time, did he? In another life, I spent a lot of time in strategic planning, so it's hard to figure that out. But I do understand why. So we're gonna look at an example of how, in very simple terms, it should relate to everybody, how you use a budget for something more than just an activity to keep you busy once a year, putting it together. Why accounting? We're in the club business, or we're in the business that support the club business. We're there to satisfy member needs. We're there to make members happy and give them value for their money that they give us in dues and fees and stuff. So why accounting? What does accounting do? Accounting plays 3 very, very important roles as club managers. One thing, it's how we keep score. So everybody, no doubt in this room, about 10 days ago was watching a little event in Augusta. And how did we know that Jordan was ahead of Phil or Tiger, whoever? Because they have this giant scoreboard, right? They have we can keep track of everything. How do we know who's going to win, the NBA game or the NFL game? Or how do we know? Because there's a scoreboard, and we understand that people keep score and put that up there on a timely basis so we can hear about it later, how it turned out. So it's a scorekeeping mechanism. Secondly, it's how we verify transactions. It's how we know what happened en route to the store. So whether or not a member paid his per bill, whether or not we paid a vendor's bill, whether or not we paid an employee, we pay him the right amount, all those kind of things. It's how we verify transactions. It's a very important function. And then thirdly, and this is to be hub managers, the most important, it's how we get the information to make better decisions. Not enough of us probably look at accounting that way, but that's what accounting is. That's why the general managers and the people we survey keep telling us that the #1 competency for club managers is it's not leisure, it's not even marketing and membership. It's accounting. That's how we make better management decisions. With the information that we get from the accounting, they compile it, we store it, and then we use it. So we want to finish today with that. So it's the reason accounting is important is because it supports what we do. It supports the management of the club. By the way, for the students in the room, you thought you would get through principles of accounting, maybe managerial accounting, never have to deal with that again, just like me. It's just going to keep coming back. And it is an information business, and it's geared, really accounting, is geared towards two sets of users. Us, we're internal users, we're as managers, as staff of the club, we use the information internally, like I said, to make better decisions. But it's also important for these outside users, like the government, who likes to know how we're doing. Especially for those of us that are not-for-profits, how much of our revenue, are we playing by the rules there, or when do we lose that status? And where we do have taxable sales, are we paying the appropriate tax on the taxable sales? Are we, so government, banks, occasionally, maybe to finance clubhouse renovation, occasionally we have to go borrow money. Banks want to know how we're doing, and they want to know that what they're looking at is legit. They want to know that they can trust the numbers. And then we have vendors. When we do business with Cisco or whomever, our insurance company or whoever it is we do business with, they want to know that the information is accurate, timely, it tells the real story, so that at the end of the day, they can trust them. Even members, by the way, unfortunately, not very often, usually at the annual meeting, somebody holds up the financials, and says, wait a minute, how come this is, but we probably would agree with me that it would really be nice if the members paid closer attention to the accounting information throughout the year. Then there wouldn't be those surprises at the annual meeting when someone stands up with a copy of the annual financial statements and says, wait a minute, they should know. They want to know. We should be able to show them how things are going and why they're going. So it's important to managers. Most importantly, we use the information to make decisions. That's what accounting information is for. Now, when we talk about accounting is not, it's not monolithic. It's not like when you look at driving down that countryside and you look at a steer out in the field, you don't just say state. There's other cuts there, right? It's not all state. When you look at accounting, especially if you're a non-accountant, it's not just accounting. There's more to it than that. We have financial accounting, the controls relate to that. Financial accounting is focused on financial statements, keeping score, producing reports periodically of a standard form, standard nature that present information in meaningful way. Income statement, or call it balance sheet, taking the financial position kind of thing. Cost accounting, which some of us engage in more than others of us, cost accounting is establishing standard costs. And you think, standard costs? Yeah, like that wonderful lobster roll we had for lunch today. What do you suppose the cost was on that? You think they just threw it together and said, devil may care, we'll see how it turns out. I'm guessing somebody, I'm hoping, somewhere along the line, somebody knew what it cost to put that on the plate. That's just one example of cost. Some other examples, simple examples. They're on Managerial accounting. Oh, wait, now we're talking about why I'm here. Managerial accounting is you using accounting information to manage a business, like a club. Managerial accounting becomes not generating the information like financial, not specifically cost accounting trying to establish the standards, but rather using the information to make better. Do we need to close down sooner in the season? Do we need to increase the price of a round of golf? Do we need to increase the dues? Do we need to what? All these decisions we make throughout the year, that's managerial accounting. In particular, today's topic, budgeting, is managerial accounting. And budgeting is the one area that also borrows from cost accounting. Kind of looks up there a little bit and says, on our way to making a plan, how do we know what the obstacle should cost? How do we know what a round of golf we should charge for a round of golf? How do we know what we should charge for it? So these two kind of run around together. And ironically, the budget we're going to talk about becomes the basis, or is essentially a pro forma version of the financial statements in one. These different kinds of accounting kind of run around together. Tax accounting is this it's kind of like a strange religion. Tax accounting, we don't teach it BMI, we don't touch it, partly because the government has something to do with it. And they change, it's different, and it's different for every club, and it's different in every state, sometimes it's different in an actual locality. So we don't generally talk much about tax accounting because you really need to be an expert. And I don't just mean to teach it, I mean to actually practice tax accounting. So we kind of skip over this, but it is very important because it gets into issues of compliance. The government expects us to follow the rules, and so we have to do that in a way that they allow us to continue to do business. Auditing is another subject in accounting we don't talk a lot about. To verify, probably all of us we are affiliated with, or the business we're affiliated with, gets audited by a public accounting firm whose job it is independently to come in and say, yep, we verify that they're playing by the rules we call GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, and they're following the policies and procedures as set forth in their bylaws, their corporate policies the board has set for them. So, yep, that's all happening. The only area where we talk much about auditing as an accounting function in club management education is in internal controls. Because internal controls, if you really want to think about it, is internal auditing. So, are we locking the back door? Are we making sure that the invoices are signed, processed? Are we doing what we're supposed to do? That's something I think we do in the auditing. And then accounting information systems. And we used to do a lot. And by the way, very appropriate that we have our joint meeting today, because accounting information systems 20 years ago was a hot management information. We were talking about platforms, we were talking about software modules and general ledger packages and all that kind of stuff, because it was relatively new to us as managers. The account grew and started touching us through point of sale devices and browser. So and now we've seen through graphic user interfaces, through simplicity of use, we've kind of started to downplay that. But accounting information systems is an important area because it's where they collect and track, analyze all that information and produce. And now we will start coming up because we're moving into the era of big data. Heard that term before. I don't know if we've heard it, but big data is where you can take all this information that may be seemingly unrelated, and with enough of it and with a sophisticated approach to analyzing it, we can actually identify things that the members didn't even know before they know it. And we may be able to bring products, operating hours, policies, procedures, decisions, for the members before they even realize. Yeah, but it's before coming to a club or education. So now, today, we're this work. Most of your budgeting, how do you budgeting, why do you budgeting, how many basics that we have to cover, just to make sure. In financial accounting, so that's how we keep score. There's two primary financial statements that we use. Three, because two use a lot. The statement of position, which is also called the balance sheet. That's where all information about what we the value of what we have, what we owe, what belongs to the members, where we add it all up. And it is a picture in time of the health of the club. So generally, perform better. Some of us have been on that at some point in our careers who have been associated with an unhealthy club, and it's tough to do programming or to do collaborations, or you're having trouble paying your vendors. So really see what it's like to be associated with a healthy clubs are a lot more fun to run. Because they have different countries that don't have those health pressures on asset values, owner's equity, the value of what we have, tables, chairs, buildings, land, machines, etc. And it has to equal the value of what we owe, we borrow money for it, versus what we have, which is the number. And we balance that via what are called equity accounts. Right? So the members put the money in, the club is operating at surplus, money goes back in, the club is operating at a deficit, it comes out of the members' equity, so much higher, it changes. The second big financial statement that we commonly call the income statement, P&L, something like that. The statement of financial needs is how we got to that. How did we get there? What was our workout like when we set scales? In this case, it covers a period of time and what came in, what sell, what generated revenue, and was there anything left over. In not-for-profit, even in not-for-profit services, that does not mean it generates a surplus. It just means it's surplus. It's not tax. You can keep it or reuse it in the club. It's not a word for a club. Some words and members may disagree. It's more sustainable, more so. To have a club that actually covers its costs and has a little bit left over in order to reinvest in its health, replace its assets, and so forth. And again, these are also this information, revenue expense accounts, are closed out through equity. So now we all know there's 5 kinds of accounts: assets, liabilities, equity, revenue, and expenses. In the budgeting business that we're going to talk about, we really don't worry much. In the operations budget, we don't worry much about equity accounts and assets and liability accounts. That's not what we're trying to do. We're operating the club, so we're really worried about revenue and expenses. 2 of 5. Now we get all this information. It comes to us through financial statements that represent the health and performance of the organization, and it's helpful if we can make all that information more meaningful. We can somehow focus in on what's important in all of that information. So, for a club this size, I would guess that financial statements are generated at the end of the month. All the supporting schedule, balance sheet, probably 9 to 15 pages. Each page probably has 25 to 35 lines of data at a minimum, and sometimes 2 or more columns, sometimes 4 or more columns. So how do you process 4 columns of information into something meaningful? You do something called ratio analysis. Ratio analysis is not a strikes fear in the hearts of students. Even when they're students that are managers at BI or taking a certification exam, ratios are really a simple concept of 2 numbers. This compared to that is a ratio. Right? So, all of us have a car, and I could probably, how many people, anybody in the room have a car that gets more than 40 to car miles per gallon? 6 or 7. How much do you know, right? It's driven per gallons of fuel used. But somehow when we get the final, people absolutely go into like anxiety mode and shut down. So what's your current ratio? Oh, I don't know. What's the current ratio? It's a number divided by now food costs. Food cost is a ratio, right? It's cost of goods, cost of food divided by food revenue. And it's just like miles per gallon. It's just how did we do with what we had to do with it? And so that makes it much more meaningful. And we'll use it later with budgeting for comparison purposes. So if a couple years ago, I had a car, American-made General Motors car, that I bought intentionally to get good miles per gallon, to get better mileage. And after I drove the car for a period of time, I wasn't getting very good mileage. I was really disappointed because I made sacrifices to buy that car. I sold off some assets or something. I mean, I went to a 4-cylinder, smaller, gave up some creature comforts because I was really going to get better mileage. When gas was $4 a gallon. I got like 21, 22 miles per gallon. Wasn't that good? I was really disappointed because I compared it to the manufacturer. The salesman on the lot said was sort of the budget for that car. Now that car on the highway would get 35 or 36 miles per gallon, no problem. Problem was, I don't run the highway that much. I drive around town about 90% of the time. And around town, it's really to get ready to run. So I made my comparison, my budget. Right? I go to the paper more carefully, but next time I did it. So when we make comparisons, it's very common. We get together and share benchmarking is here. They're in the comparison business, right? We are. There it is. And how long? Right. I knew what and that is a good thing. So when we make comparisons, like comparing to industry, and I tell you guys, you go to the club, or what should our food cost be? What's a club food cost? Where does it range? And it ends. It's not like there's a number. I mean, if I go out here later today, when I head back to Boston, I'm pretty sure the speed limit on 95 is 65 miles per hour. That's the standard. I get it, but there isn't. The government doesn't decide that food cost should be 40. Then they're supposed to do that. So when we get an industry average, when we make that comparison, we're really just comparing to what a bunch of others do. And we don't exactly know why they're doing that. We don't know if they're big clubs, small clubs, northern clubs, city clubs. Yes, we can break out the data. I don't mean to speak. But we really don't know why that club has, why the Abenaqui club has its Because we're not in the boardroom when they make the decision. In the so, you don't want to do it. You'll feel this pain, borrow money for a business, and you go and sit with a banker. And the banker says, "Let me see your business plan," and you show him or her, and they turn around. Now that we've all gone, and they look up what the end is for. You said, "This is my business plan. Do it. Look at how I'm. This is the industry average. This is the bite. This is the no industry averages are a lot like sausage. You take parts, a lot of slices, a lot of things. You grind it all up, and you say that's a sausage, and it tastes pretty good. But I challenge you to take that sausage apart and find the medium file, find the fennel, find the, it's all been blended together. That's the nature of it.
At one point, I think you're dead on. I think one of the most take meat and the average of one day. So, you don't look at averages, you look at variations across that. And you get variations of multiple factors. That's where you have why losing things or not. That's the bottom line. You know, plus that grossly different values.
And that's what having a lot of data allows you to do, and you as a single club to take advantage of that. That's an excellent point. Looking at the past, we all do this in our own club. We all compare this year's results to last year. And there's not a person in this room that sat in a board meeting and had a board member, treasurer, some chair of the finance committee. Last year in March, our food cost was 42%, and this year it's 46%. That's bad. Well, that was last year, first of all. That was a year ago. There's not much we can do about that. Good, bad. So, you know, we have to be cautious again with that comparison because the past is the past. Not that we, I think it was the philosopher Sun Down said something that could fail to learn. So don't do it, but don't get too quiet. Made it healthier. Better look for you were better. 5 years ago, today when you what are you doing about tomorrow? Just bring it into the business of budgeting. Budgeting is forward looking. That's the important part about budgeting. That's why we the budget is about into the future in some fashion. And trying to essentially answer what's going on. Not what everybody else is doing. I'm going to used to say to me, everybody else live, jump off the cliff. No, that's not because that's what we used to do. A lot of this we used to do. And we'll probably never do. So it's about what's the future look like. So what should a budget be? In an ideal world, in academics, we call it hours, and we live in these ideal worlds. Occasionally, a budget should be all of these. It should be formal, which means it should be documented in some way that it exists. Not just an idea, but something that it should have the budget said, which is more important than that. When you use it as a time on what you're going to manage. Managing a priority for change. If it's a priority one, that when you get about a bend priority, you work on first, and then the twos, and then the threes. Time left over. That's when you use it, of course. Prioritize, good budgets do. It should be a projection of the future. This is a lot easier to do. And it's relatively easy to predict the future. You ever watch the weather? A big part of what those folks do on the weather is predict tomorrow based on all this data about when these conditions, and this humidity, this wind, this direction, and this, and all this data and saying, for sure, that for the last 4 years, the club has had different activity. This many mitzvahs, this many wedding sections, this many member events. And so next year, we're planning to do the same plus 1 or 2. Less 1 or 2. It's relatively easy to project the future because we essentially, as the manager, we control it. And then it should be, this is a little bit esoteric, maybe a little bit, it should be an expression of what the members need. So the club, managing, we want really great food, and we want what they charge in town. And we do something else, but we're not willing to pay the menu price because we belong to. Sometimes you're supposed to be able to buy prime penny lobsters and sell them to us for $19.95 when the place is down $49.95. Somehow. And if they're only used for that privilege, that will work. But actually, the members' desires into the budget. Very important that the budget be their budget, even though you don't ask to come into the room and tell you about it. I reflected what the members' needs are, effectively write a budget. And then, as we said, budgets are how we do. That's how we know it's supposed to be when we're supposed to be there at the end of March, or at the end of June, or at the end of the year. This but it should not be. Honestly, this is like it should be. Because a lot of budgets in May. It shouldn't be just, kind of WAG, WAG. Right? They should just be a look into the future, like, this is an Indian coyote ceremony. I mean, there should be rental. There should be some base for this future. They should be flexible. Occasionally, they plan, and we in the plan, and different things happen. The future turns out differently than we anticipated. Do we fall back on the budget and go, whoa, if you're running 10% ahead of budget, halfway through the year, you shut down the dining room for a couple of days so it can catch up? No, you wouldn't do that. That doesn't make sense. So budgets should be a plan that allows you to, I plan to be here this morning at 10 o'clock. But if I can get a chance to set up, allow for maybe a little traffic. And unbeknownst to me, I went to the wrong place at 10 o'clock this morning. It was a really good thing because that gave me 20 minutes to go from that place to this place. And I was still here way before most of you. So I had a plan. It didn't look plan. So I had a plan to change. That's the budget because NECMA, some plan. They should not be a reflection of your agenda. Sometimes manager, nobody, I'm sure nobody in NECMA, but some managers write budgets that are going to make him or her look good. It's going to make them achieve their bonus, or it's going to make them achieve something that's good for them that may or not be good for the members. Now, I'm asking you essentially to put aside your own personal needs, those to the needs of the members. Most of us do this on most days, but when we write the budget, we do. So it needs to be affordable. It should be something great. Many of you heard the expression, make some assistant manager, don't bother. Or Bob has walked up a plate of food and cover and a soft drink, whatever, in the hand and said, "I'll go for the day. No, I'm doing the budget. Like I'm going into cloister. I can't do it. And it usually lasts more than a day. You know, sometimes I really ask something. Oh, it's budget. We don't do anything. Can't come to the meeting because we're in budget. Right? It's a big, it is big, but it shouldn't be something that is literally like going in for a root canal or surgery and having sort of certain amount of pain. And in spite of anything I say the rest of the day or you read anywhere else, good budgets should not be one of your colleagues has presented us meaning the BMI faculty, with an amazing spreadsheet. This is work of art. He literally hired a program to spend months developing this. And it's pretty impressive. And as a tool for teaching, does that every you guys, for the rest of you who have been coming to that, you're going to have this is going to be because we have to figure out how to make it comprehensive. We have to figure out how many of you attended food therapy? 5%. The beverage costing spreadsheet. That's borderline comprehensive. I wrote it. And managers look at year's cost, so that's, you know, on this is great, but only really get deep into the weeds. So you can create something like me that requires a degree in ecology. I'll try to teach my examples because practical where it becomes my proud. I mentioned there are 3 different colleges. Generally only focus on one for most of them, although you do, be honest, you do learn about this and this is the operate club. We all operate clubs. For a long time, liquidity. Deal just with availability and cash. How much we got, how much do we have coming in, dues, sequels or else, and what we're going to pay, payroll, vendors, taxes, and so forth. So that it's kind of a specialized budget. Right, it's very similar, typically based off of the operations budget. And then the capital is a kind of a 1,000-foot big picture, long-term budget, really simple. Very many moving parts. Comparing the project. And most clubs, because of our nonprofit status, don't do much capital budgeting in a traditional way. Most clubs use the appreciation for their capital budget. It's left over. So if we have 200,000 appreciation, that's what we have left over to replenish the bar, fix up the kitchen, whatever else, and when we want to renovate the club. Because our alternative is to actually make money and set that money aside, or to assess our members, or to borrow money. So we don't Capital budgeting is typically a kind of a board, general manager, treasurer, chair of the finance committee kind of activity. Much less likely to be a manager. So we're going to focus on operations budgets. We know revenues and expenses. That's our background. So why budgeting? Why? I think I've made the case probably. In case I haven't convinced somebody, or somebody's been sleeping for a few minutes and missed it. It's a way to play what it. It's a way to look at the future and say, what if the price of goes up? What if, because the economy is bad? What if that probably even happened with the leaky roof in the cart barn manifests itself? What if, what if? And it before, but it's actually happening. So now you the calm of the budgeting process to anticipate plan A, B, C, and then have some kind of rational discussion and prioritize and say we're going to plan B. We think B is the best C. It gives us, as we said, is that 40 food cost, and at the end of March, at 4% food cost, it doesn't matter what we did last year, we're change course. 46 is not 42, therefore we're out of standard. Right? We have a variation. It's definitely, which is pretty uncomfortable for us to actually, in the process, sit down and think about what's in the next year. We typically have a budget a couple of months before and we have to take time to get it approved before we can implement. Generally, we're writing budgets 3 months, 4 months, 2 months before the year kind of consider what's going to happen. What kind of activity is going to happen? What kind of costs are going to change? What kind of staffing? You know, what if isn't Frank going to retire next year? What are we going to replace him with? What about the Healthcare Act thing? Is that going to cost us more money? How are we going to, what about, I've been reading a lot about energy costs. Are they going up? Are they going down? And what about insurance? It forces you to do it right, to think about these things long before they ever happen. Some of them never even happen, but you anticipate. If you do it right, everybody gets involved. I mean, everybody gets involved. So I'm going to guess, we only have 2 controllers here. I can't really, I won't get a good sample if I ask them, but how many of you at the club that you are affiliated with, or most recently affiliated with, know that the controller has the major role in budget? Anybody? Just the controller. Interesting. Just 2 or 3 hands. Maybe things are changing. Maybe we're making progress. For a long time, too long, because controllers were in the accounting game, we made it their responsibility to do the budget. You make the budget. You got all the information. You know, the problem with that is what? They're scorekeepers. They're transaction trackers. They're beverage managers. They're not golf pros. They're not chefs. They're not any of those things. And so they can make a budget. They're quite capable of assembling budgets, but they don't own that budget. They don't have the insight, management insight, to know the nuances, to anticipate the future. So in a good budgeting process, you spread it out. You get a lot of people involved. Right? It's not just going to be you going to the office to lock the door so you can budget. It's going to be a whole club. Everybody, all the staff. I've taken it all the way down literally to dishwasher. You get a dishwasher involved with how much chemicals cost, how much a plate costs, how much a knife or fork costs. You get them to do simple little projects, they understand, then they own that piece of the budget. So when you're having your next staff meeting about, you know, chemical supplies costs are above budget, they understand that when it says dilute 10 to 1, diluting it
So